believed she had the journal and that she wasn't coming back. Her family was protected. They were safe because she was still here. She took a step away from the Flapjack's owner, painfully aware of how easy it had been for them to become friends. They'd known each other almost 2 years now, ever since Kenzie's brother, Garrett, had found her on the highway just outside Ambrose, her silver sedan totaled, her leg broken in 3 places. As soon as she'd healed, she'd been ready to leave, but Garrett and Kenzie had convinced her otherwise. They'd taken her in without question and given her a job when she didn't have a penny to her name. "Maybe you could use some real images from the diner," suggested Cassie. "Great minds, my friend, great minds." Kenzie clicked on a link she'd cleverly entitled Pictures, which took her to a series of photos of the inside of the diner. Most of them were too dark and featured patrons with their mouths full. Cassie didn't get to the bottom of the screen. Easily 30 images had been uploaded. "Kenzie, that guy's got ketchup on his face." She pointed to one of the regular truckers who stopped at Flapjack's on his way across the state. "I wanted to capture real people eating real food." "Then you have to show the food. It can't be in their mouths." Kenzie tapped her chin with one finger. "You could serve it. Ooh, action shot." "No," Cassie said quickly. She put on a practiced smile when her boss glanced in her direction. "I always look terrible in pictures." She'd made certain she looked different than she had 2 years ago, but that didn't mean she wanted her face up on the internet. It was why she hadn't gotten her own computer, why she didn't have a fancy cell phone or post anything online. Why, when she checked in on Cole, she did it from Kenzie's Facebook page, which her friend always kept open on her monitor. "Fine." Kenzie crossed her arms over her chest, pretending to pout. "What else is wrong with my glorious website?" Cassie bit the inside of her cheek. This wasn't her restaurant. That ship had sailed. "I'm really not the right person to ask," she said. "Yes, you are," argued Kenzie. "You're detail-oriented." Cassie tilted her head, brows cocked. "And also a teensy bit OCD, if we're being honest," Kenzie added, holding up her thumb and forefinger, "as evidenced by the uniform levels of ketchup in the condiment bottles." "Keep it up and I'm going to start cleaning." "Oh, no," Kenzie clutched her heart. "Not that." Cassie mustered her best glare and ducked out of the office. The front of the diner was only slightly more open than the back. Retro red leather booths surrounded white tables. Matching bar stools encircled an oval-shaped counter, where patrons could sit and watch their food being prepared in the kitchen. Posters of old cars lined the walls, most of them fading from the afternoon sun that cut through the windows on the west side of the building. Flapjack's was a classic 50s diner, which didn't exactly fit with the eclectic style of her boss, but keeping it as it was cheaper than a major renovation. Because Cassie was covering the lunch shift, she'd hit the tail end of the breakfast rush. A few people she recognized from the fire department and the clinic down the street filled the booths, chatting over the oldies piped in through the speakers. She'd passed April on the way in, standing outside in the 30-degree weather, yelling at her oldest son through her cell phone. And since she wasn't back yet, Cassie looked over all the tables to see who needed drink refills and orders taken. "Order up!" barked Ruby, the surly 80-something-year-old cook from behind the partition as she set a crooked stack of pancakes on the in-between. Cassie couldn't help but grin. She could appreciate a person who ordered pancakes at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The ticket beneath told her that the order had come from the far end of the counter, and when she glanced that way, she found a man she didn't recognize seated near the cash register. Her glance became a double take, and before she could stop herself, she was practically gaping. The navy blue threadbare sweater showed the wide expanse of his shoulders. The knitting had worn thin on the upper corner of his chest, revealing a white undershirt beneath. His sun-kissed, tousled hair was shoved back behind his ears. It hung nearly to his collar, thick enough to break a comb, and though she'd never been a huge fan of jaw scruff, it was seriously working for him. His face belonged on an ad for men's cologne, the outdoorsy kind. Deep-sea fisherman cologne, maybe. Wait, deep-sea fishermen didn't wear cologne. She shook her head, blinked. He was staring straight at her, and not exactly looking pleased. She suddenly remembered the pancakes in her hand. "Sorry," she rushed toward him. He must have been in a hurry. Maybe April hadn't gotten his order right away, or Ruby had been slow to deliver. Either way, she bristled a little in response. He had no right to be annoyed with her. She hadn't done anything wrong. She set the plate down on the white paper placemat before him, then centered it before he could pick up his fork. "Can I get you something else?"